What's up? It's Ciera.
Hey, it's Ebony.
And welcome to the Real Play Podcast.
All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Real Play Podcast. I'm Ciera.
Hi, it's Ebony.
And today we are going to be talking about the protests. So we know a lot has been going on with the Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of protests happening nationwide, worldwide, in person, on the internet. There's peaceful protests, there's non-peaceful protests on both sides. So we just want to take a minute to kind of talk about what's happening and our personal experiences with the protesting. So over the last 3 weeks, I have attended two separate protests, both of which were on the peaceful side. The most recent one was with Alfred Street Baptist Church, which is a large, well-known church in Alexandria, Virginia. They held a peace and prayer walk. And I like to do this one because I am not of that church, but I do follow them on social media and I do attend their Kaya events, which Kaya stands for Come As You Are. And that's the first Wednesday of every month. And I go to their events and I know that they're out there really trying to make a change in the community. So when I saw it was a peaceful prayer walk from the African American Museum, the Smithsonian African American Culture Museum, from there down to the new Black Lives Matter Plaza, I was like, I got to go to this one. Like, it's a church. We're praying. It's going from two historical marks now that the street is actually painted bright 30 feet large letters, Black Lives Matter, going directly into the White House. I had to go. So I went with a friend and one of her coworkers, and we drove down to DC, which I will say was a surreal feeling. Have you been to DC since anything?
I've been once, but not for a protest, just because COVID is real. But I have been to DC, and it's I've seen a lot of like Black Lives Matter things, like writing on in people's windows, just like on signs. So it's a little different.
It's definitely different. So the protest started at 7 p.m. We were supposed to begin assembling at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. We were supposed to begin assembling at 6 a.m. Driving down there were a lot of streets that were closed, so we really couldn't get super close to where we were supposed to meet. The metro wasn't open yet because it was a Sunday, so we had to drive. There was no other choice. But as we parked on 12th Street and F and started walking towards the museum, we noticed like a lot of businesses were boarded up. And we're like, what's happening? Is this? And there's absolutely no cars out. You know, it is a Sunday. It's COVID. It's 6 o'clock. It was like 6:30, 6:45 by the time we got down there. But for them to be boarded up, we're like, is this boarded up because of Black Lives Matter? Because they don't want, protesters to break their glasses, like banks, restaurants, like you name it. Hard Rock Cafe was closed up. And it was just weird. But you could still see that you could open the doors. You just couldn't see into anything. So it almost felt like kind of like the world was ending because there were so many things boarded up and there were no cars. DC, if you've ever been up here, DC is not like New York where it never sleeps, but it never sleeps. There's always a car. There's always people. There's always traffic. And it wasn't. There was like nothing. I could walk across the street and not even have to look left or right because I knew there were no cars coming.
Well, I went yesterday and there were cars. Not for a protest or anything, but there were cars. It was very different DC than I'm used to. It was less cars.
It's less than normal. Yeah. And when did you go? Because mine, yes, it was Sunday at 6 something in the morning. So that I know attributed to it. But what really?
I said yesterday. I thought yesterday was Saturday. My bad. I didn't go. I went Saturday.
You went Saturday.
Yeah, not yesterday.
Oh, okay. So when we walked up there was hundreds of people. I didn't realize till later that I believe the post from the church said there was 3,000 of us out there.
Oh wow.
But it was a lot. I did notice it was a lot because we wrapped around multiple streets before we were able to take off. And they played, some gospel music, and then we prayed, and then we started. And they were very strict on having your mask on and remaining 6 feet. So they kept making you do airplane arms straight out, as long as you can't touch anybody. We were in rows of 5. We didn't have a lot of chants like the first one I went to, where they were yelling, "What is his name? What is her name?" But I would want to say like every quarter mile, there was somebody standing on the side of the road that with a sign, and it said, "Pray for this, pray for that." So pray for the system, pray for the victims, pray for equality for all people in healthcare. What else did they have? Pray for the families. And then the very last one, when we got to the plaza, said, "Pray for Black Lives Matter." So as you're walking, I had my earpieces in, and I was listening to gospel music on my phone. And when I saw what I was supposed to pray for, I was like, okay, here we go. And you're just walking, with your eyes open, because you're not walking, you don't stop. Like, you're still walking, and you're just praying for whatever it is, sending those up, because we know prayer is powerful. Then we walked around and got to the plaza. And when we got to the plaza, you see the White House. The stage was right in front of the White House. It happened to be Trump's birthday. So what is that? The June
I don't know his birthday
14th or something.
exactly.
I think it was that Sunday. So it was June 14th, and I didn't realize it was his birthday. And until I got home, and everyone's like, "Yeah, it's National Obama Day." And I'm like, "When they passed that?" I'm looking on my phone like, "It's Obama Day? What is that?" But really, they were just trying to kind of go at Trump because they know he's very sensitive. And on his birthday, we're giving Obama a lot of love. And on his birthday, we're marching 3,000 people to his front door, which he probably wasn't even there, but it didn't matter. It was the fact that we were all there. We were all praying. They played Break Every Chains. I put a little video on Instagram. And then Pastor Wesley, he told everybody, like, okay, now it's time to pray and get into whatever stance that is the most comfortable to you. And when I say of the 3,000, about 2,000 of them were down on their knees on top of Black Lives Matter. I don't know if there's a picture of it, but down there, and he was just praying, and we were just praying and worshiping, and just like, we need this to end. We need the inequality to end. We need the killings, most importantly, to end. We want to feel safe in our own country and not feel that we have to look over our shoulder every second of the day. Because literally, as a Black person, you don't realize it, but you're constantly on guard because you just never know. And that's sad to be home, but at the same time feel as though you're a stranger and that you're on guard all the time. So I really did enjoy that that protest because it was peaceful, it was impactful. It really did, like, to me, it hit home. When we finished walking, we finished praying, and they told us, they were like, "All right, anything from now on has nothing to do with Alfred Street Baptist Church. The peaceful protest is over. We've hit whatever time it was. Enjoy yourselves." They had some music playing, but they're like, anything else is not associated with the church. So we kind of walked around and we looked at, there's so many different pieces of memorabilia that are up on the fences, that are painted on the walls. I took pictures of just beautiful, beautiful paintings of people that just, I guess you can call it graffiti because it's not supposed to be there,
Yeah.
but it's gorgeous. And they had, even against the fence, they had different people who have been killed by police officers, and there's no justice hasn't been served yet. And there were Black people, and there was even a white girl, like, it was her picture and her story on a poster right there. And I heard that there was stuff all the way across the fence, and there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things, but I guess Trump got upset and had it taken down. I saw the church that he walked across the street to, and right in front of it, there's actually a bunch of people that are giving away free water for all protesters. and it looked like it had seen better days. But overall, I felt that being in DC and going down there was an experience. One, to see the plaza, which is what, 2 weeks old now? I don't know. But to see that in person was big. I wanted to show my parents it, but they are not here. Hopefully they'll be able to see it because it's a big thing for Black people to see.
Yeah, I really, really wanted to go. I haven't been. I probably could have went today since I'm off from work, but I was gonna go maybe 2 weekends ago when they first did it with a friend, and I ended up not going for some reason, mostly because of COVID. And I kept seeing like pictures or video of people, and when I say it was so many people, so I text my friend and I'm like, "Hey, how was it?" I said, I kept seeing video online. It looked like it was a sea of people. And she was like, no, girl, it was an ocean. She was like, it was so many people. Like, she was like, I had to walk for 30 minutes to my car, from my car, and then, walk with the protest. She was like, it was so many people. And so I'm like, I really want to protest. And I've been trying to do things in other ways, but I didn't just feel comfortable going with so many people.
I would say you can definitely, I would go on an off time. Like you don't even have to go to a protest to see it. I would just go, like, even like you said today, there is going to be people down there. They're going to be there, but more people come later on in the day than earlier in the morning.
If I would have thought about it, I would have went 2 days ago when I was down there, but it didn't cross my mind.
So it's something to see. Right when we hit the corner, I was just like, wow, like this is really here. These are really I'm standing on these are huge. I've seen them in the pictures, but when you walk and then you see that it does go directly into the White House, it's kind of like he can't ignore it. It's right there. So that was that was the second protest I went to. The first one was a little more animated, I would say. It actually happened here in the city that I live in, and we all came to the local park that had a lake, and I don't even know who was the actual runner of the protest, but we showed up. It was me and one of my same friends who went to the second protest with me and a couple other people, and it was a sight to see because with that one, even with the second one, there were white people and brown people, every color that were involved. But the one here in the city that I live in, you saw so much diversity. You saw all ages, you saw all colors, literally. You saw police officers standing out there. It was a lot. The one time that it got a little nervous because there was a white gentleman holding the police flag. And I never knew it was the police flag. It looks like the American flag, except for it's black and blue. It has a blue line for one of the stripes. And he was standing right in the front with a bright pink shirt on, which is like, okay, cool. And then they were going to give him the mic. They were like, all right, well, we're going to ask this lovely gentleman here in the pink shirt to come up and speak. And as soon as he started to speak, everybody started booing. And I'm like, what is happening? I didn't know. They're like, and one guy's like, that's the police flag. And he's like, man, F that. I was like, huh? What? Whoa, calm down, son. So it turned out that he was a police officer and I don't know what he was going to say. And I really wish they would have let him speak. But as he got onto the mic and got to the stage, the boos and everything was just so loud, you couldn't even hear him. And so a gentleman who happened to be an older African-American gentleman took the mic for him. He said, everybody, calm down, calm down. I know this man. I'm vouching for him. You need to listen to what he has to say. And then from there, the boos came more. It was like, oh, so you're one of them. It should be brown before blue. And the guy who was really going off was when I say he was standing next to me, he was standing next to me. Like my friend was standing next to me and then she walked on the other side and moved. And I was like, no, now he's right here. And he was so agitated and he had I wasn't afraid like he was about to pull out a gun or start shooting or anything like that. Like I didn't think it was going to be a bad situation, but he was agitated and people were trying to calm him down. And he was like, no, see, because of guys like you, that's why we're here where we are, because it should be always brown before blue. And I'm like, is this happening? So the guy didn't get to talk. They took the mic from him and said, because it was just too loud. And they were like, well, we really need to stay on schedule. They're closing off the street right now. We're about to start the protest. Thank you guys all for coming. But before we start, let's pray. And they started to pray. And then after that, they did, or maybe it was right before, they did a moment of silence for Breonna Taylor and for everybody. But specifically George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud. And when that moment of silence, I didn't realize how many people were out there either. It was 2,500, I believe. We found that out later. It gave me chills when that moment of silence happened. For that many people to be quiet, all you heard were birds, no cars. Like, it was dead silent. And that's when you really realize that these aren't just names. Like, these are really human beings that lost their lives for absolutely no reason. And I almost, like, I had my little sunglasses on because it was hot, but I was like, I had chills. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to cry. Like, this is real. Like, I'm really out here fighting like my ancestors fought in my own way for justice to live in a country that I didn't choose to be born into, but I'm born here and I am a citizen. So the chills were just, I can't even explain it.
I saw a video on Instagram that really like made the hairs on my arm stand up. They basically everybody was on the ground with their hands behind their back. Did you see that video?
It was on the plaza?
I don't know if it was on the plaza or if it was in another city.
I've seen a bunch of pictures where they're on the plaza and they're actually laying on their stomachs with their hands behind their backs as though they're being arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they have in other cities, but the last one I saw was on the plaza.
This one was for George Floyd, and they basically, everyone was supposed to basically for that 8 minutes and I think 46 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, basically say everything that he was saying when he was, getting arrested. And it was powerful. I was like, oh my God, like just hearing them, the person on the mic call out, like, I can't breathe. And then having everyone else chant, like, I can't breathe. So I can imagine, what I felt, through watching is like, it pales in comparison to what they actually felt laying down on the ground with their hands behind their back, chanting these same words. So, yeah,
it makes it real. And so when we were marching on that one, it was hot. It was in the middle of the day. There were a lot of people who would start the chants. They would say, what is his name? And we would say, George Floyd. What is her name? Breonna Taylor. And we would just keep going. And then we just had different chants, and we already knew, like, whatever she said, we'd follow. But after a while, I was like, whoa, I can't breathe, because I had my mask on and it was hot. I was like, I can't breathe. I'm like, wait, I can't take my mask off because I can't breathe, but he really couldn't breathe. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I'm going to keep this mask on because this is nothing in comparison to. And I had to keep telling myself, like, I can't breathe. But that's part of why I'm here, is because he couldn't breathe. So it just, like, I feel the chills right now. Like, it was just that march. It wasn't violent. It was definitely peaceful. It had a whole lot of people there and I just love seeing, like, kids. Sometimes there's a couple times this little girl was like, what is her name? And we all turned and was like, yes, Breonna Taylor. Like, just that the kids are out there too. And maybe they know and understand, and maybe they don't. But it shows you that it affects all of us, regardless of our age, regardless of our color, of our social class. Like, it doesn't matter. We're all affected in this whole country. So that protest, it kind of like started something in me, like, wow, this is real. All those times you watch those movies and you see your ancestors doing stuff and you're like, man, if I was there, I'd do it too. I'd be out there too. I'll get hit with the water. It's just water. I don't want to get hit with the water, but
like what?
But when you see those movies, sometimes you're like, well, what if I was there back in those days? What would I have done? And to kind of be out there on the front lines in a way, so to speak, it's just like, wow. Go ahead.
They have a march actually coming up. I don't know if I sent you the flyer, but it's for the Million Man March. I think it's on August the 28th. Mm-hmm. And I do plan on going to that one, even though I'm nervous about COVID because it is real. And the line of work that I work in, I hear about, the cases all the time. So it's a little nerve wracking to me that the numbers are still going up, but, we don't hear about them. So it's called March on Washington, and it's August 28th, and it's going to be at 12 p.m. at the Lincoln Memorial for anyone that wants to join. So I am going to that one.
So speaking of the Million Man March, I will say, I want to say, I'm going to check it out right now. It might've been the first one back when, So the Million Man March was the gathering of African-American men in Washington, D.C. on October 6, 1995. That was actually my dad's birthday. And my dad took us out of school for that. And we sat there and watched the Million Man March. And there were millions of people there. Like, I remember seeing it on TV and like, wow, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And I can just imagine, that's 95. And here we are 2020 doing it again. I don't know if there's been one since then, but if you're going out there, just know it's going to be a lot of people, wall to wall people.
Yeah, that's why I was a little, I mean, I guess if COVID wasn't here, I wouldn't be as nervous because, but I'm reading on there the March on Washington Instagram, and they basically said they try to collaborate with other people, and no one has gotten back to them yet for other marches. And if they do get back to them, then they'll back off this march. So I would just say watch their Instagram, just to see if they'll still do it on the 28th. So.
Okay. Oh yeah, that just reminded me, speaking of collaborations, the one that I did with the Alfred Street Baptist Church was in collaboration with the NAACP. So that could have also been what brought out the amount of numbers. And there's marches like every day. If you really look online, you'll see that there's different marches, different protests every day. Somewhere in DC, Baltimore has a lot. It's just like people are angry right now and they want to be heard and they want to be seen. And right now that's the way to get the attention that they're searching for. So if you are looking for a march, I would just Google or even look on Instagram. There, you'll definitely, you'll find one. Just use some discernment to determine which ones you want to go to. Be sure to bring your mask, bring gloves, bring an ID with you on your person. Yes, bring water. A lot of them have had water. The one that was here in my town city actually had water and snacks. I was like,
and
wow.
Snacks, yeah. I was gonna say too, another thing too is I didn't really know the bus schedule here or the train schedule. Obviously, I don't take the train often enough here, but I didn't really know how that was running either. And that's probably the best way if you're going to go in DC at least to a march. That probably would be the best way to go into the city versus driving.
Yeah, you definitely want to check the schedule, and that's what we had to deal with on the morning one. Is my friend, she was going to take one, and then we realized, wait, we got to get there at 6:30, but the trains don't start on Sunday till 8. So then she had to Uber down instead of trying to park. So definitely check how you're going to get there. We decided to drive.
Uber is dangerous now too.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're getting in a car with somebody that could potentially have COVID too, because they don't have any regulations on getting tested. So, and then people are still need to make money. They're still going to drive regardless if they can do it.
Yeah.
And I've been in the Uber with certain drivers too back in the day, and they, like this one driver, I can just imagine he was coughing the whole time, and then he coughed and sneezed and he let down his window and the particles came in the back and I felt it. So COVID wasn't out then, but I could have had COVID,
Yeah.
So it's just things like that scare me because I've been in Ubers before and it's.
Yeah. So, I mean, however you're traveling, whether you can get the same thing on the metro because you don't know what the person next to you has. So if you feel more comfortable, if you don't want to be around other people, but you still want to go to the protest and kind of do your thing, you might want to drive down there yourself. You may also want to just stay a little far away. Like we said, airplane arms is what we did to keep on reaching out. And if you could touch anybody, that means they're too close to you. I don't think that's not equal to 6 feet. Your arms are not 6 feet long, but it still gives you an idea of getting your own personal space. So if you are uncomfortable with protesting in person, and some people even kind of stood out to the side, like far off to the side, so they really weren't near anybody. And like I said, everybody had their masks on for the most part the whole time. You might want to find a different way to protest. There's written protests that you can do. You can sign petitions. You can donate money. We've talked about that in one of our other episodes. So there's
Also,
lots of other ways.
I saw something that was really interesting. So I had been doing the emails, like sending them, but if you go on some people's Instagram, you know how you can swipe up and then it's just like an automatic generated email. Okay, so you could do it where it's automatic. So just keep in mind when you see people post these templates, you want to change up your subject and the contents of your email. Not only change your name, but just change it because depending on who you send it to, they may have the subject filtered out so they don't even see it. So if you use the same subject as someone else, now they're not even hitting that person's inbox. So just keep that in mind too when you're sending out your emails, to like change up the body of the email and the subject so it's not being filtered out.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh man, I didn't think about that. So now when I, email, I make sure I change that up just in case, they're like, that's spam. I don't want to see that.
Yeah. And those are emails you're saying that could go to representatives, senators,
yes,
businesses. I'm not sure. But if anything, like if you're doing anything that's generated already for you and there's a template, just make sure that you change key things that could possibly be used as filters.
Correct. Yep.
But yeah, like we said, if you want to go out in person, do it in person. If you want to find other ways, send the email, sign the petitions, donate money, volunteer
Also,
to give out water.
Use your gifts, your skills. Like, so, Ciera and I, we have this podcast. So we're using this podcast to get more information out. We're still doing other stuff as well. But I mean, I've seen people who, if you're a lawyer, you might, give some pro bono work, or if you are a hairstylist, I don't know, I'm just making this up, but you may
donate a part of your proceeds.
Or say, give haircuts, or say if someone has, if you donate a certain portion, then you get this amount off your hairstyle or something like that.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of artwork downtown right now, and you could donate artwork for auction. You could even just donate it and just add it to beautifying the city or beautifying wherever you live, just so that people can see it. There was a crocheted blanket, and I did put it on my Instagram, and it was Black Lives Matter, and it had so much detail, it was so colorful. It was just beautiful, and it's still up there, and next to it, it had the name of the person who did it. But they put in the work. They used their own skills of crocheting, which I can't do, but it left a mark, and so many people stood in front of it and took a picture just because it was just that beautiful. And it brought a smile to a lot of people's faces. So you never know how you can help other people.
Yep, you can spark joy. And then also, just think about making sure you put money back into your community, right? So when you're going out to eat, making sure you are supporting Black businesses as well, or when you're looking for certain products, skincare, body butters. I don't know, I'm just thinking, but just making sure that you spend your money within the community too will be helpful.
Yeah, and I've been using this website called eatblackowned.com. And it's just a search engine. So wherever you live, you can either put in your zip code, you can put in your city, you can have them know where your current location is if you don't know where you are, and they'll use that location and just tell you all the Black-owned restaurants, franchises that are in a certain distance from you, so you can put your money back into the eating establishments. But like she said, there's Black-owned companies that do makeup, that do body butters, that do cleaning supplies, that do personal hygiene, feminine personal hygiene, you name it. Like clothing lines, we're out there. We may not be as big as those big corporate names that everybody knows, But there are a lot of us out here that have businesses, and even your small business. Like if your friend sells jewelry, I don't know, maybe instead of going to Walmart or something to get some cosmetic jewelry, buy it from her. She's got some African earrings she's making, buy it from her. Or if he's got some beard oil, don't go to Walmart and buy your oil, or to the beauty supply store, buy it from your homeboy, so that the money is staying within our community, and we're building each other up. But that was just my account of attending two different protests and how they've affected me. I know my neighborhood constantly, they keep doing protests. They're doing drive-by protests. And the first time I didn't realize what was happening. I'm sitting in my house, and I just keep hearing horns honk, and I'm like, what? And I look out, and there's just cars, and they're just driving up and down all the streets, honking their horns, holding signs that say Black Lives Matter. I didn't realize it until I went online and saw they say, yes, we're assembling at this place on this day at this time. And there was 100 cars one time, and they just did a couple of days ago. So I know it's probably going to happen again. But even little things like that, they never even got out of their cars.
Oh, that makes sense to me. Like, go ahead, sorry. But
they held the signs and they honk. So if you're even in your house, you're just like, you're looking out to see what it is, and you see Black Lives Matter, or we care, or we with you, we're allies, and they're honking. And so you never even have to be around another person, but you're still making a statement, and you're still standing up for what's right.
Yeah, one of my friends, she lived in Colorado, and she did the same. And she was like, it was fine because we social distance. And then she also just did a protest. They did it on bikes. And I asked her how that went, and she said it was fine. People were able to social distance and still, protest. And
yeah, there's so many ways that you can use your voice and use your skills. So if you feel led to do it in person, do it in person. If you feel led to do it online, do it online. If you feel led to do it through your business, do it through your business. But what really needs to happen now is we need some change, and we need each individual to help push us towards that change your mindset, change the actions, change the system, and vote the right people in that can help us get to where we want to go.
Yeah.
So within the next few months, we know that there's going to be more protests. We know there may be some peaceful ones. There's going to be peaceful ones. There's going to be a lot of creativity. But just, if you're listening to this and you know about something, or if you've went to one and you want to talk about it and discuss it with us, leave us a voice note, tell us about it, or a message, or email us at therealplaypodcast@gmail.com, or DM us, same thing, The Real Play Podcast on Instagram. Just keep us informed on what you're doing in your community right now, and to keep yourself sane and to keep us all moving forward. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we will be looking for you in our next one. All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on all social media platforms at The Real Play Podcast.
We would love to hear from you, so leave us a comment, DM, or voice note. And don't forget to come hang out with us on our next episode.